So, I saw an early screening of the live action How to Train Your Dragon. No, I was not invited to the freaking premiere, but my movie theater did have an early screening. And yes, I am all decked out. In case you're curious, I am wearing my Toothless Eras Tour shirt, which, yeah, sorry, I made this. Yeah, I have a lot of time in my hands apparently. I also got a Toothless poster that he is going to be chilling behind my shoulder from now on. At least until I find a better place to put it because he's right next to my door. Okay, so, and I also have my Toothless plush. Okay, so yes, I saw the live action Hatching Dragon, and if you guys have seen my videos in the past about this, I had really high hopes. Okay, really high hopes. I was really looking forward to this movie. I was really into it. I was really like pumped up, bro, pumped up. So this is gonna be my full analysis. Okay, so of course, spoiler warning, if you guys haven't seen it, which as the day that I'm filming this, it's just been released in theaters. Like today is the first official day of it opening, so most likely you probably haven't seen it yet, which is completely fine. So yeah, here, okay. So a little backstory. I saw the live action in theaters with, like I said, my Toothless Air store shirt and my Toothless plush, and I got that at Five Below. So and I did end up seeing it in 3D, and I saw it with my friend and her sister, and I did not think that we were seeing it in 3D, which again, not a big deal, whatever. But whenever I saw 3D movies in the past, it was always a little bit blurry for me for some reason. And so I was kind of like, oh no, especially because I did not wear my contacts. So I was a little bit nervous that I wouldn't be able to see what was going on in the movie theater. So when the movie began, for the first scene that happened, it was blurry. It was very blurry. And I was like, yikes, this is not cool. I don't want it to be like this for the entire duration of the movie. So yeah, I was getting a headache. It was blurry. I saw double vision. I thought it was going insane. But then all of a sudden, during the first scene, the movie paused. Like, the movie got paused. And then workers ran in and they were like, sorry, we gave you guys the wrong headphones. And everyone in the freaking theater was like, thank God. Thank freaking God, bro. Everyone was like, yeah, it was blurry. I was gonna kill myself. It was bad. Everyone was so, including me. I was like, thank you. Thank you. So yeah, so we got the actual good glasses, and then when the movie started playing again, I was like, I started that clap cycle, okay? I freaking clapped, and everyone else clapped too. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So back to the actual duration of the movie. So, like I said, as you guys know, I had very high hopes for this movie. And I thought it would be so cool. I actually liked the cast, unlike lots of people. Now that I saw it, it was good. I'm not saying that it's not good. It was a good movie. But I will also admit that it definitely was a shot for shot remake, in my personal opinion. Some people think that shot for shot remake means like no additional scenes, no anything like that whatsoever. A shot for shot remake for me mostly means that if the dialogue is pretty similar. Because I will say in this movie, the dialogue was pretty much like 80% the same as the animated movie. Like scenes that were in the original pretty much were like word by word the same. Which I won't lie, I kind of wasn't really a fan of because I know so many people are like, oh my god, yes, I love how it's like the same thing, they didn't change anything. Well, there was some differences, and of course I will get into that in this video. But yeah, I feel like for me, I feel like they should have at least tried to change the dialogue to make it a little bit different. And some people also disagree with me, saying that that's not true, they did change the dialogue. Of course they did at points, but not that much, like, if I'm being completely honest. So, I'm gonna let you guys sit back, okay, and let's start from the beginning of the film. Fun. So the beginning does start with Hiccup's beginning monologue, and yeah, the monologue was pretty much word by word the same, and I won't lie, it was kind of funny to like try to get used to Mason Thames' voice as Hiccup, because of course we're so used to hearing his very nerdy nasally voice. So hearing him like have a normal kid voice was actually kind of weird and kind of jarring at first. I kind of forgot that it was not Jay Baruchel.
We have dragons.
It does start the same, and then it starts the same also with him basically getting his ass blown by the. That sounded very weird, but you know what I mean. His door almost got blown open from the monster's nightmare. So let me just say that the set that they had for Berg looks freaking great, bro. It looks freaking great. I will definitely admit. The scenery looks freaking beautiful in live action. You can really see like the Scandinavian landscape. Very nice. And I also noticed that the CGI monster's nightmare does look incredible, don't get me wrong. But the part where Stoic was fighting him in the beginning looked kind of odd for some reason. But this was also before I got my new 3D glasses, so it might be just that. We also learned that Astrid in this movie is basically kind of like the leader of the teens, and I guess she technically was in the beginning or in the original movie, but it wasn't really specified that much. But yeah, so basically she is like the leader of the teens, and she's kind of like the badass one, very similar to the original, and she definitely looks badass. But that does bring me to another thing. Astrid. So yeah, this version of Astrid in live action is freaking ruthless. Like, we get to see a glimpse of why Astrid actually doesn't like Hiccup, because we don't really see that in the original, I'll be honest. Like, we always assume that maybe it's just because he was like the outcast of the village or whatever, since everyone else hated him, she might as well hate him too. But no. Basically, she does admit in two separate scenes, one is in the beginning, one's later on, but basically she does admit that she hates how he has basically privilege because he is the chief's son. And she believes that he does not deserve to be chief from what happened so far, while she has been training to be chief technically her entire life. So yeah, again, like I said, we see some in the beginning where she talks about his heir privileges, but later on we kind of get into it a little bit more.
Anyone else would have been booted off the island by now.
I guess being son of the chief has its privileges.
And yeah, we also do get, I heard this online before I initially saw the movie, so it was fun to actually see it, but we also do get a glimpse of Snotbout's little bit of arc in this movie, where we actually see more of Spiteflout than we do in the original, which is honestly very fun for someone who's seen the shows. It's very fun to see more of Spiteflout, even though he is an ass. Yes, Spiteflout definitely is in this movie, and then we see how Snotbout is basically kind of like starved for attention from his father, which is why he is the way that he is, always trying to suck up to him and trying to impress him.
My dad's super proud of me, so... Dad, I was just talking...
Don't show it to me in public.
And in case you are curious, we don't get to see Mason Thames impersonate Gerard Butler. That would have been great, but yeah, we do not see that. That part is not in the movie. But we do get the scene where Hiccup fat shames the villagers.
Between you and me, the village could do with a little less feeding.
Which, I'm not gonna lie, I find pretty funny because this version of Hiccup is like more shy and nerdy and pretty much all over the place. So him saying that line, I will lie, doesn't quite match this version of Hiccup as a character. Again, it's not a huge thing, like I didn't really think much of it, but now that I had time to think about it, it is kind of funny because again, this version of Hiccup is not as sarcastic as the original Hiccup. And I also do want to say, I do love Nick Frost as Gobber, another probably unpopular opinion. People don't like him because he is not Scottish in this movie, he's like English or something. But I won't lie, I really did not pay attention to that too much, like I really didn't notice. I don't know why I didn't notice, I just didn't. Probably because there's so many different accents in the movie, I just assumed he talked like Gerard, I don't know.
The meathead with attitude and interchangeable hands is Gobber.
Again, he was really funny, and then you can really see how much he cares for Hiccup like a son, like he does in the original. So we also see a little bit of like an extension of the scene where Stoic talks to the people, like in the Great Hall and with Gobber. Yeah, so we do get to see more of the villagers than we do in the original. Like we get to see him name some of the villagers by name, kind of talking about their different experiences, and we also get to see more of Gothi, surprisingly. And I generally do really like what they did with Gothi in this movie. Like she looks so cool, but yet she's so mysterious. She still doesn't talk. She's kind of like the wise old lady, and the way that she looks is honestly really cool. So seeing her kind of look at everyone from afar throughout this entire movie was honestly pretty enticing and honestly really cool. And the scene where Toothless finds, or Hiccup finds Toothless and releases him, yeah, it's pretty much the exact same as the original, except they're in the beginning before he tries to kill him. We do see Hiccup say, "Why couldn't you already be dead? Because now I have to kill you." Which I really liked. I honestly really liked that scene because it already showed that Hiccup does not want to kill Toothless to begin with. Or at least he does not want to kill Toothless from like a close range.
Why couldn't you have been dead? Now I have to kill you.
Now, I like Toothless's design, but I don't really have much opinions on it. Like, it's fine. It looks really similar to the original. He does look funny at times, that's all I'll say. Now, the scene between Hiccup and his dad in the next scene when they're in their house together, again, was pretty much the same word by word scene, but we do also get a small glimpse of Stoic's mind in this scene, and it kind of shows why he is so hard on Hiccup, mainly because he cares for him in his own kind of messed up way. So it was pretty similar line by line. There's some changes though.
Can you not hear me?
Can you not hear me?
Now we get to the first training scene, which gives us a bigger glimpse of the other characters. And then we also see how Astrid and Ruffnut are actually pretty close, which is surprising. Like they seem to actually be getting along, and basically because they're like the only two girls in the group. And I do see lots of people hating on the way that the twins acted, like people who've seen the movie before. And I won't lie, I really don't mind them. Like people think that the twins are supposed to act like so goofy and weird, like how they do in Race to the Edge or something. But I won't lie, in the first movie, they really weren't like that. They were just somewhat silly, whatever. But they also were like, they mostly were just bullies to Hiccup really in the first movie. That's really all they were in the first movie. So and they acted like that. So I really think their acting was pretty fine. Honestly, I kind of liked them. They also made kind of a fourth wall breaking joke about the twins' ages, since you could tell that the two actors who played the twins are much older looking than the rest of them, and the Snotbelt does mention that they got held back. Love that for them. They also go on to joke about each other's names, like how Hiccup isn't even the weirdest name, since there are people on the village called Snotbelt and Fishlegs.
Real sensitive, Hiccup. Nice name, by the way. Your name is Snot Loud.
And the training scene was definitely pretty similar, but different in like the same way pretty much. Like some of the directing was honestly pretty cool. Like the way that they get thrown from the Gronkle and the way that they fly off in slow motion. It was honestly pretty neat.
Looks like it's just you and me, huh?
No, just me.
And yeah, and the scene where he does draw Toothless is pretty much the same. But the next scene is probably the most different scene in the whole movie because it's like kind of like a whole extension to a scene that is between Hiccup and Astrid. So it was after the kids leave the Great Hall, and then Hiccup and Astrid are alone with the Dragon Book, and then we see Astrid mention how she basically came from nothing and had to work for what she got, and she even says that she is going to be chief one day. Literally, basically threatening him in a way.
I've got my eye on that big house of yours. I'm gonna be chief one day.
But he goes on to say that he doesn't doubt it, and then he thinks that she would make a great chief, and she would definitely be a better child to Stoic than he is. Which you can tell kind of caught her off guard when he said this.
I don't doubt it. Actually, I think my dad would be thrilled. Besides, you're the kid he always hoped for. Instead, he got all this.
This scene is honestly important for a lot of reasons, more than you probably would think. Like, we see her where her frustration with him actually comes from because she thinks that he's privileged and he'll be chief no matter what simply because he was born into it, while she is like the perfect chief on paper. But seeing him say that, she does deserve being chief more than him makes her kind of realize that maybe, just maybe, he doesn't want this either. He has his own struggles. Kind of liked it, honestly. He also goes on to say that maybe dragons aren't as bad as they think they are, but then she disagrees with this, and this is actually a pretty important part that comes up later. Now, the scenes with the Viking on the ships were pretty cool. They are very dark and very eerie, but nothing really noteworthy. It is pretty much the same. I won't lie, that the Natter maze scene was honestly really cool. Like Hiccup and Astrid get stuck underneath the maze edge, but again, I thought that was pretty neat. And Astrid's freaking fight scene was honestly like really cool and badass. But I also like how she blames everyone for messing up because that's so true. Like they all suck at dragon training. And then Astrid does turn to Hiccup and says, decide what side you're on. That now makes sense here in their last conversation that they had together, where Hiccup says that he may be on the dragon's side. Again, I really do like how they added that scene. It brings way more depth into the scene.
Because in case you forgot, our parents' war is about to become ours. Figure out which side you're on.
And the next scene, which is the Forbidden Friendship scene, I won't lie, it was pretty much shot by shot the same as the original, as well as the music, but again, it looked fine. So the part where Hiccup ate the fish was diabolical. Like, it was so gross, dude. I freaking almost threw up. I almost threw up. And he almost threw up too. Like, I heard a behind the scenes part where Mason actually talked about making that scene, and then they had to fill the fish up with something so you could take a bite out of it. And they asked him whether he wanted it to be crab or chicken, and then he said that he wanted it to be filled with crab because he hates crab, and he wants like the reaction to be more like real when he takes a bite out of it. So yeah, his reaction was definitely real, you could tell. But the scene where he hangs on Toothless's tail was honestly really funny. Like, it looked kind of odd, but it was pretty funny. So the second training scene with the Zipplebacks was honestly really enjoyable too. Again, it was pretty much the same, but we get to see more moments between the gang, which I enjoyed, and honestly, is my favorite part of the film. Like, the moments between them all.
I think I pretty much won Astrid over. I mean, she can barely even look at me.
Like, the characters just have so much chemistry with each other. Like, we see Mason and Dennison, who plays Fish Legs, they were great together. And the same thing with Harry and Gabriel, aka Tough Nut and Snotlout. Tough Nut and Snotlout. They were great. And even Nico and Rowan, like, they had really great female chemistry with each other. I really liked it. And again, the actors were generally really fun, and I honestly enjoyed watching them. So we then see the montage of Hiccup learning how to ride Toothless, and we also see him bringing, this knowledge into the training session, like in the original, except there was one thing that they did change from this montage, which, I'll be completely honest, I have no clue why they changed it. Because it was a scene where Hiccup and Toothless crash land on the grass, and then Hiccup finds the grass and basically realizes that it's kind of like dragon nip, so he uses that knowledge on the Gronkle. But instead, in this movie, they land in a bunch of like dandelions, which makes Toothless sneeze. So in the ring, Hiccup blows the dandelions in the Gronkle's face, making it uncontrollably sneeze. I just find it interesting why they changed it for some reason. Like, again, the movie is pretty much the same as the original, so I just find it funny how they changed that for some reason. Like, it just felt like it doesn't develop the story or anything. I just felt like it was a really random thing to change. We also see the gang start to question and feel threatened towards Hiccup more with like sudden dragon knowledge, which is of course different than the original, since in the original we see them all basically like idolize Hiccup for his newfound knowledge, except for Astrid.
Trying to show us up.
No.
I've never seen someone take down a Bronco like that.
I mean, I do it all the time, but how did you learn?
Learn what? What exactly was that?
Speaking of Astrid, the scene where Hiccup brings Toothless to the blacksmith shop because, he got stuck with Toothless on his saddle, and where Astrid kind of questions him about this. Yeah, that was also cut. I understand why it's cut because it doesn't really, mean anything. It's kind of pointless. But it's something that I honestly didn't realize until later. I was like, oh yeah, that scene wasn't in the movie. I just thought that was funny because no one really talks about that scene. So we see Stoic return, and again, the scene was pretty much the same, but points for Gerard Butler's great acting like always. You can really see like the fear in his eyes when they insinuate that Hiccup is gone, believing that he might be dead. But then we see Hiccup and Toothless taking their first successful flight, and I won't lie, the way like it was flying was honestly like the way that they kind of fell at the out. I can't talk. The way that they were like falling at the one point was honestly really cool in live action. I won't lie. Like I might even like it more than the original, to be honest. I know, hot take. Because I just love how the music stops like the moment they define gravity in the air, and then we like don't hear them at all. Like in the original, we kind of hear them screaming, we hear them kind of yelling, whatever. But in this one, we don't hear. We just hear the intense music playing, which honestly definitely fits the scene. So this is probably the most like known scene that was cut, which is like the everything I ever known about you guys is wrong scene with the terrible terrors. And at first I was kind of like, okay, I guess it doesn't really matter until I thought about it some more. Because because I saw in an interview with Dean DeBlouse before I saw this movie where he said that he cut the scene because it basically slowed down the pacing of the story, but he said that it was actually filmed and it's going to be released in a kind of like a bonus package when it comes out on DVD. But to me, like, I know it seems pointless and everything. It seems like a pointless moment, but it was the part where Toothless blows the fire in the terror's mouth and then Hiccup says, "Not so fiery on the inside," which is like the whole reason how he learned to shoot the fire in the Dread Death's mouth at the end of the movie. Like, that's the reason he knows how to do that. Like, where is that realization? Like, I understand if they wanted to cut the whole scene, but I wish they would have maybe figured out a way on putting it into a different scene or something like that so we at least could connect those two. And I know some people might think that maybe it was common knowledge and they were just kind of winging it or something, which could also be the case, but I don't know. I just felt like it was more important than some people probably realized. So in the next scene, we see the scene where Stoic and Hiccup talk about the whole dragon training, and yes, the scene, again, I know I sound like a broken record, pretty much was the same as the original, I won't lie, but honestly, I thought it was even kind of funnier than it was in the original for some reason. Like, Mason's awkwardness was so on point in this scene, and the father-son chemistry between Mason and Gerard was so freaking good, and they were actually really funny in this scene.
First grumble head on a spear. What a feeling. You really had me going there, son.
The thing I do find funny about them is how Mason really isn't that much smaller than Gerard. Like, he really isn't. Like, he is a pretty slim guy as it is. And they try to make Stoic look really, like, broad with the cloak that he wears in this movie. So when he jokingly, like, punches Hiccup and then he goes flying and everything, it's honestly kind of funny. Like, how does he get knocked over so quickly from one little punch from freaking Gerard Butler? It's funny. Now the next scene, in my personal opinion, I thought was better than the original. I know, hate me for saying that, okay? But I won't lie. I know that's crazy, but it was the final training scene where Hiccup is chosen to kill the monster's nightmare. Especially knowing more about Astrid in this movie, knowing how hard that she worked to be leader and to impress the chief, and seeing how much Hiccup like does not want this at all. Like, he only uses these tools to basically kind of like survive the ring pretty much. And I'm not gonna lie, it almost makes your like heart drop seeing Hiccup's face of dread, knowing what he has to do, and then Astrid's face in terror, like all of her hard work was for nothing. And then we also see how Snothouse Charlie kind of looks up at his father, and you see his look of disapproval. Like, we can see the tension in the air, and it really makes your heart stop for a second. And as the crowd cheers, which makes it even worse, it was actually really well done, really well filmed. I love the music in the scene. And I also do like the cut to the next scene where we see Hiccup kind of spiraling and he's ready to freaking ditch, like he's ready to leave. I actually thought it was pretty funny. So even though that scene was pretty quick and it wasn't a huge part or anything, I don't know, I really loved it. I love the acting in the scene, the directing. I love Snotfell's little moments, seeing Hiccup's face with the cheering behind him. It was just really good.
Can't wait to eat it and never come back. All right, bud, time's up.
Now we see Astrid confront Hiccup which is, again, pretty much the same as the original, but I do like how she hears him call Toothless Bud, and then she goes like, "Who is Bud? Your secret trainer?" I don't know, I thought that was really funny to put in the movie, and I really liked it.
Who's Bud, your trainer?
Now, again, the next scene was pretty similar. The fight scene, like right to the romantic fight and all that kind of stuff. All that kind of stuff. Again, pretty similar. And I will say the romantic fight was not good in my opinion. Like it was cool. The part where we see the Aurora Borealis, I thought that was pretty cool, honestly. But again, it was very, very short. And Nickup's acting, I won't lie, was pretty stiff in this scene. I know people will say that her acting is so stiff, whatever. And I always thought that was just fine. I was kind of okay with her stiff acting. But I won't lie, her acting here was pretty stiff. Like, she was just kind of like, I don't know, like, I feel like her transition wasn't as flawless as it could have been. And she really does not seem that infatuated with Hiccup yet. But I won't lie, I kind of do understand why they did do that. Because I do find it funny how in the original, Astrid goes from, like, beating Hiccup's ass to basically hugging him from behind in the span of, like, a few minutes. And they also had a slightly different talk on the back of Toothless after the romantic fight scene. There was, like, a cute moment where Astrid was, like, you know, basically kind of still playing hard to get with him, saying, "Maybe I won't rat you out." And then he was like, "Maybe I won't drop you into the ocean." I thought that was really cute banter. I won't lie, I like that.
I might not snitch on you.
Then we might not drop you in the sea.
So the next scene where we see the Red Death, and when they go back to the cove, was again pretty much the same. But it was pretty well made, I will say that. But the one thing I will say about the scene, I am kind of not a fan of how Astrid reacted to Hiccup when he said that he is like keeping this a secret and to keep Toothless safe and all that kind of stuff. I like the face in the original one because it's kind of like that face of realization where she kind of realized that Hiccup actually really does have passion for something. And of course he has passion for the dragons and all that kind of stuff. But in this one, she was just kind of like, okay then. Like I don't know, she just felt kind of like, okay. Especially, it's even weirder because we know more about her background than we do in the original. So I felt like, I don't know, her acting could have been a little more intense, I guess, in that moment. But I also find it funny that she does also go on to kiss him on the cheek, like she does in the original. Which, I won't lie, I'm surprised that they actually kept that in, especially since, like, lots of people complain that, you know, their relationship in the movie kind of moves too fast than in the original and everything. Especially this version of Astrid, who is, like, again, way more independent and way more of, like, a girl boss. Now, in the next scene is another one that I generally really loved in the live action, and that was the Monsters Nightmare fight scene. Again, a scene that I am kind of teetering with, but I do think it's up to par with the original. Like, it might be better. I don't know. I really don't know. Okay, it's very close if it's not better than the original. Like, it's the conversation that Hiccup and Astrid have because they slightly changed it a little bit to make it more meaningful. But before that, I honestly love seeing the scene where Stoke was basically kind of making fun of the old Hiccup while the other villagers laugh at him. The look on Hiccup's face was honestly really heartbreaking, I won't lie.
Hiccup would have gone from being Hiccup.
Now again, the scene with Hiccup and Astrid, like I mentioned before, will slightly change because he asked her if anything goes wrong, please do not get involved. While in the original he says, if anything goes wrong, don't let them get Toothless. But in this one, Astrid also goes on to say that Hiccup has something in him that she doesn't, that he is special, and then she says that he showed her that, and that no matter what happens, she is going to stick by him, no matter what. And then she also goes on to say, come what may, which he repeats after her.
I'm going to stand by you. Come what may.
Come on, mate.
I honestly wonder how they came up with that line, like the whole come what may line. It was sweet, I won't lie, it was really sweet, and I do really love the change. I really love their conversation in this one versus the original. So again, the fight scene was pretty similar, but there was one part that I definitely have to give kudos to for the directing on this part, because there was a moment where we see Toothless climb up the edge of the cove, you know, where he puts his claw on the rock, where he clenches it. And then we get to Hiccup's hand, who is trying to climb out of the side of the arena, but failing to do so, which again, I really love how they added that part in. Him trying to climb out of there instead of just kind of running around, and then they zoom up on each other's kind of hands. Like, I thought that was really neat. Also, Gerard Butler in the next scene was amazing. Like, we see him yell at Astrid, who, defies him, and she actually does end up trying to stop him, saying that Toothless is harmless. But the part where Astrid holds Hiccup back was definitely heartbreaking. Seeing a tear go down his face while showing Toothless's face being captured by the Vikings, like, it was sad, okay? We also get to see Stoic get angry at Astrid as well. Like, not just Hiccup. Whoa. I literally hiccuped the moment I said Hiccup. That was the best moment, I swear. That was the best moment in this video. Then we see the scene where he yells at him alone in their house. And again, also pretty similar. But Stoic actually does mention again. He does mention Volka again. Which I do feel like was a nice touch.
They took your mother, for God's sake! If she can see you now, standing there with them, when they've killed hundreds of us!
And we've killed thousands of them!
Now, the scene between Hiccup and Astrid were pretty much the same thing, word by word, which I won't lie, I was a little bit disappointed for, because they really expanded on these two characters in a whole, and to have them interact with each other and all that kind of stuff. And I thought they would definitely expand on that a little bit more in this scene, but unfortunately they didn't, so it is what it is. So the scene where he gets the group together to help defeat the Red Death is pretty similar, except Hiccup says that Astrid is the strongest one of them and she is the leader, so he wants her to lead them out there while they all bond with their dragons and everything. While Hiccup also says, "Stick with me," which was sweet, since it's kind of bouncing off what Astrid said to him before the ring.
Stick with me.
The scene where Stoic and the Chiefs destroy the nest was honestly pretty cool, and the Red Death definitely looked badass. But again, pretty much, I know I keep saying this, but like, it was shot by shot the same pretty much. But I will say that it did feel definitely more brutal in real life. Like, we see people getting crushed to death, we see people getting caught on fire, like, and again, I saw it in 3D, so it was intense. So we of course see the kids ride on their dragons, but Astrid was the one flying Stormfly this time, while Hiccup was behind her, and also while she was giving directions on what to do, while Hiccup goes to save Toothless. We also do see Snothout fall on the Red Death, and then we see Spiteflout question this when he sees him.
Come on! Is that my kid?
We also see the same scene of Stoic saving Toothless and Hiccup, but the dialogue is slightly different. When Stoic says that he is proud to be Hiccup's dad, and then Hiccup, instead of saying, "Thanks, Dad," like he does in the original, he says, "That's all I needed to hear," which I love that exchange. It gives him the strength to keep fighting.
Whatever happens up there, I'm proud to call you my son.
And that's all I need.
There was a part that was definitely changed from the original, like, damn. So instead of a part where, Astrid and Stormfly are being sucked in by the Red Death, and then they get saved by Hiccup, no, in this movie, the Red Death bites down on the back of Stormfly's tail, but Astrid literally goes into the Red Death's mouth and literally breaks its teeth with her axe. Like, holy crap, bro. And once Stormfly breaks free, she flies off without Astrid, leaving Astrid completely alone in the Red Death's mouth. Hiccup notices this when he sees that she wasn't on Stormfly when she flew off, so then he goes and eventually does save her. And again, that was pretty much the same. He saves her, we see her cute, adorable face, and then he drops her, and then she whispers, "Go." There was also a slightly funny scene where the twins rescue Snothout, and then he falls in between the heads of the Zippleback, which again was kind of funny. We also see Spiteflout, like his very subtle moment, but he puts a hand on Snothout's shoulder, which again was very small but very sweet. As Hiccup goes off to fight the Red Death alone, we see Gobble whisper to Stoic, "Some chief you have in the making," and then Stoic agrees to this. And I love that line. I love it.
quite the cheap you have in the making there.
Now the fight scene looks great. Everything about it looks pretty cool, as well as when he falls into the fire. Now the next scene where Stoic cries over Hiccup's body was also great, and I really like how in this version Astrid goes up to Stoic and puts a comforting hand on his shoulder while she cries as well. Then we see Toothless, of course, reveal Hiccup. Now again, I like the scene, but I do wish there was a part where Stoic and Toothless kind of have their own like personal eye-to-eye moment, which of course untimely leads into revealing Hiccup, like how it was in the original, but again, this scene was still sweet nonetheless. Now the scene where Hiccup wakes up with his missing leg, again, was pretty much the same as the original, but let me just say, I definitely teared up with this part, mainly because I remember so intently watching the original movie in theaters and getting like full body chills during this part, so it brought me back to my childhood. So the ending scene was again pretty much the same thing, but I do love the Hickshit kiss. Of course.
Okay, is it always gonna be like this? Cause
And that's for everything else.
They have such good chemistry with one another. Now the last thing I will say that a lot of people probably didn't even know because maybe they didn't wait in the movie theater long enough, but there was a small end credit scene, kind of technically, not really, but it wasn't much. But basically there was a moment where we see Hiccup look down at the picture of Toothless while he taps the table in concentration, and that's it. That's it. But to me, I think this was a subtle foreshadow to the second movie where he decides that he's like gonna be making his flight suit that we do see in the second movie. Because it looks like he's looking at the thing, he's tapping the tensile concentration. Again, just a theory though. So here's my overall thoughts. The cast, I really like them, okay? I like Mason as Hiccup. Even though he wasn't as sarcastic as the original, he still made it his own, but honestly in a good way. Nico as Astrid was also great, even though her acting could be stiff at times, I will admit. I really think that it's very Astrid coded of her, if that makes any sense. Now, Snuff Out and Fish Legs were honestly my favorite part of the friend group. Like, they were generally so hilarious, and they look like they really enjoy themselves, I can definitely tell. Of course, Gerard was definitely the highlight of this movie. But of course, that makes sense since he's the most experienced actor of them all. But I also do love Nick Frost as Gobber. He was kind, but also very funny. And Golfi was a really nice change in the character, honestly. She was very mysterious, but creepy. It was really cool. And again, I really do like the dynamic that they had between Snuff Out and Spice Out, even though it was very small, but I did like it. I also like Astrid's arc and her new relationship that we see more with Stoic, honestly. I didn't expect that, but seeing them have somewhat of a relationship makes it even more meaningful knowing that he eventually becomes her father-in-law. And again, I think the set looks freaking amazing and the CGI was pretty good. But I will say that in live action, the relationship between Hiccup and Toothless wasn't as strong, but probably in this case wasn't as strong, but it was probably because we seen the same thing 15 years earlier, so that's probably the main reason. I did also hear that this movie was like much cheaper to make than the original. I forgot the exact numbers, like how much the budget really was. But yeah, this movie was much cheaper to make than the original, which is kind of funny. I feel like, in my opinion, like the only reason why like the movie wasn't as good as it could be was simply because it was too similar in my personal opinion. Like I wish they kind of added some more extension scenes that were cut out of the original movie. Like I'm kind of disappointed that the whole axe to grind cutscene wasn't in this movie. Like if you guys know, you know, it's a great deleted scene. But I will say I do like the things that they did add in this movie for the most part. I like how they explored Ash's character a little bit more and made her more of like instead of just a prize for Hiccup. And then we also see her aspirations and her goals. But I will say that it's crazy how this version of Astrid, like the girl who is so confident, who's vicious, she's kind of ruthless, how she fell for Hiccup at the end. Like, that's crazy to me, but hey, I get it. Overall, I actually really did enjoy watching this movie. It was a really fun time. And I will say that I do not think it was 100% necessary. Like, I will be completely honest with that. Like, the changes were so small that it wasn't even worth making a whole movie over. especially since I think the art was kind of one of the best parts of the original, in my opinion. But I definitely do recommend you guys see this movie because again, it's pretty much the original where they kept everything the same pretty much, but they tried to explore it. So I do understand why people say this was the most faithful, like, imagining, because they're not trying to change everything. It's not like they're trying to change the ending or change all that kind of stuff. They're trying to develop it more, which I did really appreciate. So I do understand and do agree that it probably is one of the most faithful adaptations I've seen. So thank you guys for watching this video. I'm glad that I finally got to see it, and I'm sorry that I spoiled the entire movie for you. Hopefully you guys are okay with that. So anyway, thank you guys for seeing. Thank you guys for staying with me, and it's fine. See you in the next one, Dragon Riders.